Now, in 18 days, the nation's top law enforcement agency will see new leadership. Christopher Wray is leaving his post as the FBI's director at President-elect Trump's behest. Trump's nominee to replace Wray, Kash Patel, could be running the FBI if confirmed by the United States Senate. And in a post today, Trump called the FBI and the Department of Justice, quote, incompetent and corrupt. Our next guest used to lead these kind of investigations. Chris Swecker is the former FBI assistant director. He was at the agency for 24 years, joins us once again here on the Hill. It's always great to see you and speak with you, sir. Thanks for being back with us. Yes, good evening. Donald Trump wants to reform the FBI. You saw that agency at all levels over the course of 2.5 decades. How easy or not is it going to be to reform the way that Trump wants it to?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let's understand that the FBI does need to have a certain level of independence. It's not a cabinet-level position. It's an agency that should go where the facts lead them, check their politics at the door, which they hadn't done over the last 4 years, and actually starting in 2016, in my opinion. But there's a lot of good people in the Bureau. You saw that press conference in 2 sentences. The deputy assistant director who came in to lead the investigation cleared up everything and told us what we needed to know and took charge. So there are a lot of people like that in the Bureau right now. And I think, to go in there and just burn the place down is not the strategy to take going into the FBI.
So,
you have to,
yeah, and so Jay Johnson, the former head of the Department of Homeland Security, said today that Donald Trump should consider asking Christopher Wray to stay on through the inauguration, through the Super Bowl. You agree with him?
No, I think Chris was co-opted by the Justice Department from the day he hit the ground at the FBI, and that's natural because he comes out of the DOJ. So I think that there has to be some independence from the Justice Department. Actually, there are things that Mueller was asked to do. Director Mueller was asked to do during my tenure, and he refused to do them because he thought they were unconstitutional or unethical. And I think an FBI director has to be prepared to say that. I'm not going to do anything unethical against my oath of office. I'm going to lead this agency independently, or at least down the path of they're being apolitical, and we're going to let the facts lead us. We're not going to conduct political investigations and unpredicated investigations, and we're going to obey the law.
Christopher Wray had an insight across the board, and Chris, here's what he said in April of last year, and I want to get your reaction on the other side.
Our most immediate concern has been that individuals or small groups will draw some kind of twisted inspiration from the events in the Middle East to carry out attacks here at home. But now, increasingly concerning, is the potential for a coordinated attack here in the homeland.
He was worried about lone wolves then, and that is what we saw play out in New Orleans in the early morning hours of January 1st. How big of a concern is lone wolves as you see it?
Oh, lone wolves are ever present. They're radicalized usually on the internet through propaganda and events in their own lives, as we saw with this recent attack, where he was in a slow motion meltdown in his life, and that sort of married up with his radical ideology. So yeah, Chris is right about that. He's also right that terrorist cells are a very important threat to keep an eye on. With 4 years of open borders, there's guaranteed that cells have infiltrated into the United States from Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, perhaps even Hamas.
A guarantee, you believe?
I guarantee it. It is.
How widespread?
Well, that's the problem. We should have had agents down on the border interviewing every single non-Mexican or a special interest alien that came across that border to gather intelligence. 1, to vet them and know who they are. 2, to gather intelligence. We would have done that during the era that I served in the Bureau. We would have surged on the border. We did it when drug cartels became an incredibly challenging problem as probably the most profitable criminal enterprises in the world. Right. We surged on the border and we went after it. We should have had 1,000 agents down there interviewing these special interest aliens.
Chris Swecker, former FBI, got to leave it there. Always fascinating to speak with you. Thanks for being with us tonight here on The Hill.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.